Homage got the vibe.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another silly video. Today I have something extra special to show you guys, as after about 2 weeks of trying, we finally figured out how to bring back Nuke Trinity. And not only did we bring her back, she's significantly stronger than the old method. Just to quickly refresh people's memories, old Nuke Trinity involves stacking Aviator and Diamond Skin along with the negative damage bonus against shields that Radiation has. This allowed you to reach 100% damage reduction as these mods stack additively. So you could redirect the damage without taking any, assuming you had shields and you were in the air, and the damage being dealt to you was pure radiation. The Sancti Castanas were the most popular method to do this with. However, since you can only detonate like once per second or so, your overall KPS output was significantly hindered. Also, this method did not have much scalability in the endgame, and you would stop one-shotting enemies around sortie level. So now, what's different with this new method, and how is it so much better at killing? Well, for one, you're no longer limited to radiation. This allows you to use raw damage combos or things like gas that spread out in AoEs through Link, dealing huge amounts of damage. Additionally, you no longer need Diamond Skin or Aviator, freeing up space on the Trinity build. And lastly, and most importantly, the damage potential is greatly increased. In this clip alone, you can see Trinity dealing roughly 20 million damage or more per tick over 8 ticks a second, which is equivalent to 160 million damage per second. This allows us to kill every enemy all the way up to wave 100 in one hit. It's much more important to keep in mind though that this isn't even a fully min-max build and has the potential to do much more. Now, how exactly do you pull this combo off? Well, everywhere except for the Void, you're going to need at least 4 frames. Trinity, Loki, a DPS frame like Gas Chromatic Blade Excalibur, Octavia, Titania, etc. And lastly, a frame to both initiate and maintain the radiation proc on the DPS frame. Trinity is obviously there to transfer damage from the DPS frame to the enemies connected to the link. Loki is there to make Trinity immortal with the Safeguard Switch Augment. He's the only frame, as far as I know, that's capable of doing this. Both Harrow and Neja's team invulnerabilities do not allow damage transfer through the link, as they add a separate hitbox which absorbs the damage and does not use the hitbox of Trinity. Therefore, Link will not transfer the damage. Loki should be modded for maximum duration and natural talent to minimize the amount of downtime on Link and keep the kills per second as high as possible. There are a huge variety of different frames and methods that you can use to apply damage to Trinity. However, one of the simplest and most effective methods that we were able to find was a maximum strength and duration Octavia with minimum range in addition to the mallet augment. This will further reduces the range of the mallet. This brings the mallet down to only having a radius of about 2 meters, which the Trinity can easily walk in and out of and reconvene with the Loki to reset her invulnerability timer. Other methods will require an extra layer of coordination between the DPS and the Trinity, otherwise the Loki will die as soon as he tries to reset the timer on Trinity. Interestingly, the Trinity is the one dealing damage to the mallet with this method using the Galatine Prime, and I'll go over the Galatine build shortly because it's a bit complicated on what does and what doesn't affect the Octavia's mallet. Lastly, you need a frame to both initiate and maintain a radiation proc. Now, this can be any frame, even a DPS or buffer, to further increase damage to Trinity if you happen to be running this on the Void, as lasers are an easy way to pick up a radiation proc. Now, understandably, I don't feel quite comfortable explaining exactly how to initiate radiation procs outside of the Void, because I feel like it's just going to be exploited by the player base and used against other players instead of against the enemies. Just know that there are multiple methods that can be used to accomplish this, and I'm sure most of you know at least one of them. Now, just getting the proc isn't too hard, trying to retain it can be the big issue. The best method that we were able to come up with is using an Aether Sword Ground Slam attack modded for status duration. The Aether Sword does very little damage and has a 100% chance to proc radiation, which makes it an excellent candidate for this job. Running Lasting Sting and Enduring Affliction will give you 14.4 seconds of radiation to work with, and because the mechanics behind Enduring Affliction, this will allow you to stack it up by 14.4 seconds with each additional ground attack. For example, after 3 ground attacks, you'll have 14.4 times 3, which gives you 43.2 seconds of radiation on an ally. Also, to further reduce the damage, I suggest having whoever is retaining the radiation proc to run an Extinguished Dragon key to reduce their damage by 75%, making it less likely that you'll accidentally kill the DPS frame. Okay, so now I'm just going to go over the Trinity and the Galatine build. All the other builds are pretty self-explanatory, and the 4th frame is dependent on where you're at, obviously, whether you're in a void, whether you're in a regular mission, and then obviously what method you're using the radiation proc. So here for my Trinity, I'm basically building her for absolute maximum range and then as much duration as I can possibly fit on her with a little bit of efficiency. Now, you want to build, range is your #1 priority, so basically every single range mod is pretty much required to have on here, so you want to be sure to hit as many enemies as far away as possible to make the rounds go as fast as possible. So I have, obviously, I got corrosive protection as the aura. That was just to deal with the Oxium Ospreys in this particular mission, but you can run whatever you like. Energy Siphon actually worked really well, just having one person with that, because you didn't have to worry about energy regeneration. You didn't have to waste time going into Xeneric, so you could just place pads down a lot less frequently. Now, obviously, all of the range mods I had on here, and then everything else is just basically duration. The other thing I have on here is Natural Talent. This is also pretty useful to have. Now moving on over to the Galatine, this is actually where it gets a little bit complicated because this build looks weird and isn't what you would normally run at all. Now there's a couple things in regards to Octavia's Mallet. No Sias effects transfer through it when you're building up damage. No elementals transfer through it when you're building up damage, and also no physical damage mod. So you can't put on like a buzzkill in the Galatine and get extra damage. It's not going to work for you. The only thing that transfers through it, it seems like, is raw damage and crit. So we got basically as many crit mods and as many raw damage mods as we can fit on here. Now, the other thing is Sacrificial Steel is not needed assuming you have a double Avenger set. If you're running double Avenger, definitely take off Sacrificial Steel and replace it for something else. Again, it's kind of up to you what you want to replace it with, either more attack speed or like the other Gladiator mod for the attack speed. That would be a great addition to this, because then you're just building up the Blood Rush, because Sacrificial Steel is going to give a very little critical bonus in general, mainly because the added bonus from a double Avenger set is 60%, so you're going to see a very small damage increase. I got 2 Gladiator mods on right now. I got Blood Rush, Organ Shatter, obviously. Basically, you're just going full crit and raw damage. As soon as you do that, you should be okay. And then the other really important part is running Cleaving Whirlwind with the Broken Bull stance. This stance gives a huge damage increase, and actually, if you cancel the stance animation on, like, I think right before the last attack, so you don't get that stagger, you'll be dealing more DPS as well. However, I did not do that because I was more just focused in mission on watching the Loki timer. Okay, moving back on over to the gameplay, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys the last 4 waves or so. It only takes like 2 minutes because we were averaging, I think, when I did the math out, I think we averaged like 32 seconds per wave or something. I'll also show the evidence of us actually doing it at the end, both screenshots. We did a 94 wave run, and then we did a 100 wave run. The 94 wave run was our practice run, and we did actually fail on that. But what I mainly want to talk about in this segment of the video is the nerf, right? Because you can't really talk about Nuke Trinity without talking about her nerf and how she was nerfed, and the combo that got her nerfed has significantly less potential than what we're doing right now with her. So is this combo also going to get nerfed, or does it deserve to get nerfed? And I think the answer to that question is no. And the reason why that is because it's not affecting other players when you're doing this. And what I mean by that is the old Trinity, you only need one person to nuke, right? You only required the Trinity, and then that was it. For this to work, you require a minimum of 3 frames. So you're not going to be affecting anyone else in public missions because you require 3, and if you want to do it as efficiently as possible, you need 4 frames. So the most harm that you could possibly do is go into a mission, and then you also have to be coordinated. So you need 3 people communicating with one another, and then at most you can go in a mission and troll one person in Hydron. However, again, this method is not easy to pull off. It requires a lot of coordination. You have to have people on mic talking with one another, and even just the Octavia thing, which is the easiest way to do it, might I add. And it's still pretty hard to pull off. It took us about 2 hours of practice before we got it down pat. And this is a group of people that I personally know, and we've all had communications with one another before. So it's not like we were total randoms. This is going to be exceedingly difficult to do in a group of people that don't know each other, and it's, I imagine, almost impossible to do without mics, because you're going to need people reminding the Trinity, oh, your timer's about to go down, you got to go back. Or if the Octavia gets the AFK timer from standing still for too long, then they're not going to be able to get energy, they're not going to be able to get radiation procced, or maybe the frame that is damaging the Octavia is doing a little bit too much. The Octavia has to go back and tell that person to, hey, back off a little bit, I gotta place shield pads down or something. So it's not going to be a method that you're going to see run in public missions all the time. It's definitely a highly specific, highly coordinated build for just running missions as fast as you can possibly do them. And the other thing about this combo is that it's very high risk, very high reward. The only way that you can protect the pod or bring a frame that has the ability to protect the pod is to do it in the void, because that's when you have that extra frame slot open and you're actually able to do that. Anywhere else, you have to run basically 4 designated frames, and you're not going to be able to fit in a Frost or Limbo or Gera or somebody just to like project the objectives. So everyone has to be 100%. If you're not killing the enemies immediately, just one shot or one bullet from any direction will nuke the pod, and then the run will be over. But anyways, those are just my thoughts on the subject. I really hope Digital Extremes does not nerf this, because it's such an interesting and powerful combination. It just requires a lot of team coordination and team communication, and it doesn't, and the best thing about it is it doesn't really affect other players, right? In public missions, it's not going to affect anybody, because you can't even like really do it in public missions. So that's the main reasons why I don't feel like it should be nerfed. But anyways, guys, you've come to the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed watching. If you want to talk to me on Discord, I'm always free on there. Just DM me or talk to me on mic. I'm always looking for new methods and people to test them out with. So as always, guys, I'd like to thank you for watching the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.